I thought I was insane, but this guy takes it to a whole nother level. I tried messaging this guy in English and Japanese on how to do this, but I never got a response. But I think I found his secret. There's a dish in China called Mao tofu, and to some it's known as soybean cheese. And it looks like... It's also known as hairy tofu. Yep, it's... Okay, look, I feel like I don't need to tell you. Mold can give you cancer and get you sick. It can make you vomit your insides out onto the floor. I think you're smart enough to know by now. But there are a lot of things that we eat that are made of mold, like cheese, soy sauce, mirin, sake, gochujang, citric acid. The list is crazy long. So we have a love-hate relationship with mold. In this case, the mold is called mucor. When it grows on tofu, it apparently makes it way yummier. It has like this funky, cheesy flavor. So I've heard. I've never had it before, but that's why we're trying. It forms this long white mycelia that kind of looks like cotton balls or even little fine white hairs. It makes food taste good by converting big compounds into small tasty compounds, like proteins into amino acids that are often found in MSG, the secret to umami. It's cool because different molds have different flavors, kind of like how cheeses have different flavor profiles. People in China have been doing this for generations and generations, over hundreds of years, meticulously engineering this mold to not kill them. Here I am doing for the first time on something completely different. I've grown mold on steak before, but I had an entire book with a recipe inside of it so I could follow. And this had a bunch of safety regulations and guidelines for me to, look at. This is a completely different mold with completely different characteristics. What this guy does is insane. One, this guy grows mold while dry aging it, and two, does it on fish, which makes it orders of magnitudes more difficult. Molds have very specific growth conditions. The mucor mold in this case has to be in like a warm, humid environment. So the temperatures range from like 70 degrees Fahrenheit to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and relative humidity between 70% to 90%. But in fridges, it's cold and dry. And it's crazy because he does it on fish, which is a whole nother level of difficulty because fish have bacteria that are adapted to cold environments. So you need to get the fish as close to freezing as possible so it doesn't go bad. But that also means mold has a harder time growing on it too. So that means, okay, I got this normal fridge. There's a couple things I'm gonna add in order to make this like a dry aging fridge. A fan to circulate air and a humidity meter. I eventually found these mold spores at the most reputable store. Yep, I can't read anything on that, but luckily they have it here. So you can try sprinkling these mold spores on top of the steak and putting it in the fridge and hoping that it will grow. But these mold spores are like inactivated and need to be hydrated for it to start working. And in the fridge, that's very unlikely. So this could essentially lead to like splotchy growth where the mold does not outcompete the bacteria, causing everything to essentially spoil. So now it's time to risk my life to make food taste marginally better. So basically, I'm making an auger plate so my mold can grow on. Normally we'd use like a laminar flow hood or some kind of sterile area in order to transfer the mold spores onto the auger plate. So we're gonna make one of those right now, using one of these. All right, this is gonna be really low tech and it's not gonna be 100% safe, but we're not really making medical equipment here. So now we gotta pour all of the auger plates into the Petri dishes and then let that cool down and solidify and then add our little mold spores. Oh my God, this is so hard to do. There's like no room in this thing. Oh my God, this is so hot. Oh, I can't see anything, everything fogged up, holy shit. Oh. All right, we got our Petri dishes filled with mucor mold. And, you know, some of these look pretty good, but some of them also ended up sprouting some brown mold, and that's kind of sketchy to me. Maybe that's contamination, or maybe that's the mold changing color because it's like sporulating. I'm not really sure, but I'm not gonna risk it, and I'm only gonna use the pure white mold. Okay, so here's the plan. So I'm gonna put the sugar into the water, I'm gonna boil it up so it's really hot and it kills a lot of the bacteria, and then add our little mold spores. I'm gonna also add some more of the powdered mold spores, just in case these mold spores aren't enough. This is just a safety measure. So I left it overnight and I realized the humidity was like way too low. It ended up being like 39%, 40%.
We're adding one of these humidifiers in there.
So another problem came up. So after adding the humidifier into the fridge, the humidity went up to like 87%, but then frost ended up covering all of the back of the fridge, causing it to cool down really inefficiently. So I think I'm gonna try to cover the meat and the fan so it can keep like a really, really high humidity area. There's a plastic tub on top of the steak, and then I taped the fan to the top. I think the tape might fall out, but we're gonna deal with it when we get there. And this is what the steak looks like. As you can see, there is no mold on it. It is dry and crusty. At least it doesn't smell bad. No off smells. So we have a perfectly normal dry aged steak. So ideally, the mold would have safely grown. Yeah, we're gonna have to do this the sketchy way. This much waste for this much steak. We're gonna throw this into a mold bath water, and we're just gonna let it sit at 90 degrees Fahrenheit for about 3 days. Yeah, so, you know, there's a lot can go wrong with that because this isn't gonna be treated with anything. Usually I would treat it with salt or vinegar if it depends on different molds, but for this specific mold, I'm not sure what the resistance is. Mold spores are gonna compete directly with bacteria. That's why it's so freaking sketchy. Ideally it would have grown in the fridge, but that didn't happen, so... days. Time to make some steaks. I'm the type of guy that needs to make every single mistake under the sun in order to learn something. Even when someone tells me it's a bad idea, I still need to do it. It's led to a lot of incredible life-changing discoveries, but when I don't know what to do next, I tend to give up. Oh man, this is... Right now, I don't really know what else to do, but I don't really want to give up. So this smells absolutely horrifying. It smells like a hot pile of garbage fell in love with sewage water. Yeah, I don't even want to hold it close to my face. Yeah, that didn't work. I need help. The hair on the steak is pretty insane. It's so long. I think I could comb it if I really wanted to. And I do not have the courage to eat this. Do I? No, I'm not gonna do that. The tofu turned out really hairy. Still has that weird smell. Smells pretty funky. I was thinking I could genetically modify the mold so I can get used to growing in cold temperatures or increase the humidity somehow. So if any expert microbiologist, mycologist can help me out, you know, let me know in the comments below. Yeah, this is definitely gonna need a part 2. Somebody did it before. It's possible. We can definitely do it. Have a nice day.